Time now to talk politics, and joining me is National MP Simon Bridges and Labour MP
Morning.
Jacinda Ardern. Hiya, guys.
Good morning.
Simon, I want to start by asking you whether everything's happy and sweetness again amongst the coalition partners.
I think it is. I think it looks like it was a very good meeting and a meeting of minds. I mean, they came up with a pretty good common understanding that, yes, as we've always thought and as negotiations keep going, there are interests and rights in water that iwi may well have, but it's not a question of ownership. No one owns the water. And also that, I think from a National Party perspective to the Maori Party, look, we are not going to legislate over due process. We want to see things take their part, participate them, and pursue our position, which we believe is the right one, which is, as I say, no one owns the water.
Jacinda, did you get the feeling that this is the government tiptoeing through this issue? We weren't going to see an apology. I think we knew that. But the guarantee not to legislate has obviously done the trick.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would go as far as to assume that it was a meeting of minds, because I think the amount of hostility leading up to that meeting was fairly significant. It's one thing, I guess, for the government to say they're not going to legislate away rights, but they've certainly dismissed the process that the Waitangi Tribunal is going through. And the suggestion seems to be wait for the Waitangi Tribunal, but after that, I wouldn't be surprised if we still saw an extended court process.
Well, that may be true. I mean, it's very hard to say how these things unfold, but, you know, we'll just keep to our position, which we absolutely believe is the right one, that no one owns the water. It is for everyone.
But, I mean, we have to remember, though, of course, that all of this has been brought about by asset sales have sped up this ongoing discussion and debate about water rights, because asset sales have cut across the discussion that's being led by iwi around water rights. And if we weren't in this
I don't accept that.
Express sale of assets, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
I mean, if that
now
was the case, then you'd have a situation right now. I mean, Mighty River Power is operating now. It uses the water. Who owns that isn't going to change those
But
issues.
Maori and iwi benefit from that in the same way that all New Zealanders do, whilst those assets are
and they will continue
state-owned. But
and they will continue to.
But really? You're
absolutely.
Okay, look, guys, look, Jacinda, you just talked about how this has sped up the issue, but the issue has also slowed down, potentially, the sales process. And
yes.
Simon, from a government perspective, that's difficult. That's not looking good. May Chen told us time is money. If this carries on to continually delay, it is surely undermining the partial sale of assets.
Well, I don't think we can say that inevitably. I mean, firstly, the mixed ownership model process doesn't necessarily have to be put on hold. Look, that's something that I'm sure there's discussions going on about. But secondly, actually, although it is a surprise to many, court processes can be expedited and can go reasonably quickly. I don't know, frankly, how long the Waitangi Tribunal process will take. Some say actually it could be very quick. Now, from
they say
that,
maybe this week.
Yeah, so depending on the outcome of that, look, there are ways and means where you can expedite a court process, potentially into the highest court in the land, and things can move actually really quickly. So I don't think we should jump to any conclusions about the timing of this. I actually think the Prime Minister's right. We can be reasonably optimistic that we can keep with a pretty swift timetable to get these out to mums and dads, the shares.
Meanwhile, Jacinda, we're seeing potentially, are we not, those shares being, weakened, devalued slightly by all of this?
I certainly think that's
Jacinda would love that.
I think that's a valid, well, I'd love if we just didn't sell them, then we wouldn't have to have that debate. But I think that's a very valid concern.
But then David Shearer wouldn't be able to buy them.
I mean, if you are, ironically, I heard some discussion about mum and dad investors being put off by this, and someone else, I think it was a government member, suggested that wouldn't be a problem because people from overseas who are looking in on this wouldn't be so worried about that. So, well, actually, if it really is about mum and dad investors in New Zealand, they will be very aware of this discussion and this debate. And I wonder whether the government's looking at putting solid energy on the block instead, just to avoid having
I don't think it makes that
much
difference about one. But look, actually, I have people coming to me all the time saying, let's get on with this. We want to get in there and buy them. So.
Right. Thank you very much.
That small percentage of New Zealanders.
I knew you were going to get the final word, Jacinda. Thank you very much, guys. Simon Bridges, Jacinda. But
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. Speak to you next week, hopefully.
If you want that to be your last words.
Hush. Thank you, guys.
He's under the table.
Bye-bye.